The Assassin's Creed franchise spans over 2,000 years of history from ancient Greece to industrial London. Playing through them in release order will have you bouncing around history, but playing them in the order that they actually would have taken place allows you to witness how the creation of the Assassins and Templars coincided with some of history's most influential periods. So pull out your textbooks and open them up to the chapter on stabbing people in the neck, because it's time for a crash course in history through Assassin's Creed. Set nearly 400 years before the creation of the Assassin's Brotherhood, Assassin's Creed Odyssey takes place during the Peloponnesian War, as Athens and Sparta waged war across all of Greece on and off for nearly 30 years. Eventually, Sparta would go on to defeat Athens, thanks in large part to aid from the Persians of all people. Oh, if Leonidas could get a load of this! Speaking of Leonidas, you play as his grandchild, either Cassandra or Alexios, as you explore a massive open-world Greece, captain a warship sailing from island to island, and meet a host of historical figures including Socrates, Herodotus, and Pericles. You'll also encounter more than one legendary mythological creature, as the lines between history and mythology blur. As the name implies, Assassin's Creed Origins depicts the founding of the Assassin's Brotherhood, at the time known as the Hidden Ones, by husband and wife Bayek and Aya. Origins is set in the aftermath of Alexander the Great's conquest over the Persian Empire in Egypt, which resulted in a period when Greeks ruled over Egypt known as the Ptolemaic era. At this time, their pharaohs, including Cleopatra, were of Greek descent. While the Greeks ruled Egypt, the presence of Julius Caesar was a stark reminder that the might of Rome lingered not far off. Ancient monuments like the Lighthouse and Library of Alexandria can be fully explored. And of course, the oldest wonder of the world, the Great Pyramid of Giza, built for the pharaoh Khufu, is an iconic landmark. Fun fact, Cleopatra lived closer to the time Assassin's Creed Origins was released than she did to the building of the pyramids. Fast forward nearly a millennium, and Assassin's Creed Mirage depicts the Hidden Ones, soon to become the Assassin's Brotherhood at the height of their power. You play as Basim ibn Ishaq, as he grows from a young thief to a master assassin. Basim hunts the Order of the Ancients throughout the round city of Baghdad during its golden age, when art, music, poetry, literature, and science were all thriving. As Basim hunts his targets, he'll work closely with Ali ibn Muhammad, actual leader of the Zanj rebellion against Baghdad's Abbasid rulers, and the Banu Musa brothers, real-life scholars and inventors who lend their aid by crafting and upgrading Basim's equipment. In Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you play as the Viking Eivor and lead your people from the fjords of Norway across the whole of England as you broker peace on the warring island and fight for a new home. You'll use your longship to conduct raids on strongholds and experience a new saga in each region of fractured England. Along the way, you'll meet a host of real-life Vikings and Saxons, including Ivar the Boneless and Alfred the Great. In between trips to historical regions like East Anglia and Jorvik, you'll have the chance to visit the mythological realms of Asgard and Jotunheim, which offer up far more than just a change of scenery. Valhalla also introduced us to Basim for the first time. But if you're playing in historical order, this older Basim will be very different from the one you knew in Mirage. We won't spoil why, but let's just say there's a lot more going on here than a midlife crisis. Basim's presence in both games helps emphasize just how dramatically different cultures and societies can be, despite coexisting at the same time. The game that started it all saw Altair hunting Templars during the Third Crusades, a series of wars initiated by the European Catholic Church to reclaim the Holy Land of Jerusalem from Muslim control under the Sultan Salah ad-Din. Kickstarted by Richard the Lionheart, the Third Crusade began with the Crusaders' capture of the port city of Acre. It came to an end when Richard realized his forces couldn't take Jerusalem, and he and Salah ad-Din struck the Treaty of Jaffa, which left Acre under Crusader control and Jerusalem under Muslim control. But it allowed pilgrims of all faiths to visit the city. Altair's list of targets take him to both Jerusalem and Acre, as well as Damascus, visiting some of the most religiously significant sites in the world, like the Dome of the Rock and the Great Mosque of Damascus. In between assassinations, you'll visit Masyaf, the real-life stronghold of the assassins, and a place where diving 100 meters into a bale of hay is considered an intimidation tactic. Ezio's first adventure in the Italian Renaissance takes place primarily in Florence and Venice, at a time when art, science, and culture are flourishing in Italy for the first time since the height of the Roman Empire. You'll first meet Ezio as a baby, then as a brash young man who must quickly grow up after his family is betrayed. Along the way, you'll become familiar with iconic landmarks like the Cathedral of Santa Maria del Fiore, the largest cathedral in Europe at the time of its completion. Ezio will also befriend the likes of Leonardo da Vinci, whose work in medicine, engineering, painting, architecture, sculpture, and so much more made him the embodiment of what we now call a Renaissance man. Ezio also meets the head of the famous Medici banking family, Lorenzo de' Medici. While Florence was a republic at this time, Lorenzo and his family's wealth and influence, as well as their patronage of the arts, made them the de facto rulers of the city, and helped earn him the nickname Lorenzo the Magnificent. Huh, a wealthy and powerful person supporting the arts? What a novel concept. Assassin's Creed 2 is also the only game that asks you to press the same button to cry as a baby and to punch the Pope, and I just think that's neat. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood picks up right where Assassin's Creed 2 leaves off. This time around, Ezio must wrest control of all of Rome from the hands of the Borgia family. No big deal. Unlike Florence and Venice, Rome was not thriving during the Renaissance, so it's up to Ezio to help rebuild it. While the city has too many monuments to name here, it's fair to say that the Colosseum and the Pantheon are just a couple standouts from the ancient city's glory days. When Ezio isn't burning down Borgia towers, he's hunting Cesare Borgia, rebuilding the assassin order with Machiavelli, and test driving some of his buddy Leonardo's inventions. The 4 years between Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and Assassin's Creed Revelations must have been tough on Ezio. Just look at those grays! But no one said the life of an assassin was an easy one. This more, let's say, contemplative Ezio finds himself retracing the steps of Altair, a journey that led him to Constantinople at a time when it was under Ottoman rule. One of the largest and most diverse cities in the world, Constantinople sees ancient Greek ruins, Byzantine churches, and Ottoman mosques all coexisting together in a city touched by countless cultures. In Ezio's time, Sultan Bayezid II's 2 sons are fighting to inherit their father's throne. But it's Bayezid's grandson, Suleiman, that goes on to rule Constantinople so successfully that he etches his name in history as Suleiman the Magnificent. For those of you keeping track, that's the second ruler with the moniker The Magnificent that has crossed paths with Ezio. Clearly our guy has the magic touch. In Assassin's Creed Shadows, you play as either the fictional shinobi Naoe, or in a series first, the historical character Yasuke during the late Sengoku period in Japan. A time of political tumult, warfare, and dramatic social reformation, Shadows depicts a time when Portuguese traders arrived in Japan and built cultural and diplomatic trade relations. The game kicks off by introducing you to Oda Nobunaga, the powerful daimyo who sought to unify Japan, whom Yasuke would come to serve. Your time in feudal Japan will introduce you to a host of other historical characters, including Luis Frois, Momochi Sandayu, and even Naoe's father, Fujibayashi Nagato. Stepping forward about 150 years into the golden age of piracy in the Caribbean, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag takes you to cities like Kingston, Havana, and Nassau. But unlike most Assassin's Creed games, the real star setting here is the open sea itself. As Edward Kenway, you'll captain the Jackdaw, battling rival ships in military forts in intense naval combat, where you can seamlessly board and commandeer those ships to build your own fleet. Edward also befriends some of history's most famous pirates, including Stede Bonnet, Benjamin Hornigold, and of course, Edward Thatch, better known as Blackbeard. Similar to our guy Kenway, Thatch was a privateer before joining Hornigold's pirate crew in 1716. He died in 1718. That means Edward Thatch became a pirate, acquired his own ship, took on the name Blackbeard, and through a mixture of theatrics and his imposing presence, became the most famous pirate in history in only 2 years. Just an absolute legend. Assassin's Creed Rogue is more than just the connective tissue between Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag and Assassin's Creed 3. It flips the entire franchise formula on its head by starring the assassin turned Templar, Shay Cormac. As Shay, you'll hunt your former assassin allies during the 7-Year War, a conflict that saw the British-American colonies fighting an alliance of French and Native Americans that started in North America and escalated all over Europe. Come on, fellas, take it outside. Shay also crosses paths with some of American history's most famous figures before they were the founding fathers you know them as today, including Benjamin Franklin, and a young officer in the Virginia militia known as George Washington. Assassin's Creed 3 places you in the middle of the American Revolution, as half-British, half-Mohawk assassin Raton Hengaton, also known as Connor. While Connor aids the American revolutionaries throughout the game, his main goal is hunting high-ranking Templars, including historical character Charles Lee and his own father, Templar Grandmaster Haytham Kenway. As in, Edward Kenway's son? That's right, Connor is actually Edward's grandson. A who's who of founding fathers like George Washington, Samuel Adams, and Paul Revere feature heavily. But Connor's unique background being raised by his indigenous Mohawk mother helps showcase the moral ambiguity on both sides of the war and the horrors of colonization. The last of 4 games set during the 18th century, Assassin's Creed Unity brings the series back to the European continent as the French Revolution's setting thrusts Arnaud Dorian into the middle of the Assassin-Templar conflict, right as the French proletariat begins to revolt against aristocratic rule. The son of an assassin raised by a Templar nobleman, Arnaud plays a pivotal role in the storming of the Bastille and the execution of King Louis XVI, as he fights not just for the assassins, but for the future of France. In addition to the beheaded king, Unity features some of the revolution's most prominent figures like Robespierre and Napoleon. Despite taking place about 100 years before the construction of the Eiffel Tower, you'll still get to visit the iconic monument thanks to some animus trickery. But for some era-appropriate sightseeing, you can't beat Notre Dame. The Gothic cathedral was already nearly 500 years old by Arnaud's time, and remains one of the best examples of Gothic architecture to this day. Assassin's Creed Syndicate brings the series to the cusp of the modern era. You play as the Fry twins, 2 young upstart assassins who must liberate London from Templar control. In between hunting Templar Grandmaster Crawford Starrick, Jacob and Evie will chat it up with some of the greatest authors, scientists, and inventors of the 19th century, like Karl Marx, Charles Darwin, Florence Nightingale, and Charles Dickens. The Industrial Revolution ushered the world into a modern age, thanks to the proliferation of electricity and inventions like the telephone. Not to mention the mass production of iron. In fact, it's those leaps in building technology that forced Jacob and Evie to have to make even bigger leaps themselves. Buildings got taller, streets got wider, and even the most skilled assassin would need help climbing them. Insert the Fry twins' rope launcher. Not just a neat gadget, but an important tool necessary for traversing long distances while sticking to rooftops. It may not be historically accurate, but it sure does come in handy when trying to scale the Palace of Westminster to drop in on Big Ben himself. While each Assassin's Creed game alters, manipulates, and bends history to different degrees, they are all based on the deep and rich history of our own world. We'll never get to relive the Italian Renaissance or know what it was like to scale the Lighthouse of Alexandria, but Assassin's Creed just might be the next best thing. There's no wrong order to play these games, but if you're looking to revisit them or jump in for the first time, try experiencing them as history intended. Let us know your favorite setting in the comments and subscribe to this channel for all things Assassin's Creed.